The Big Ten. It is a soap opera. It has been a soap opera for really about the last month or so. Never forget, it was about a month ago that the Big Ten released its football schedule, got everybody fired up. They were actually supposed to be opening their 10-game Big Ten-only, conference-only schedule this week. Couple days later, we hear the reports that they may be canceling the season. A couple days after that, they do cancel the season, and it has just been one negative headline after another in the Big Ten for all the reasons that I've discussed on this show. The process never made sense. The timeline never made sense. And over time, more and more people have gotten on board with me and called out the Big Ten for its hypocrisy. As I said a minute ago, parents are protesting. Players are upset and being very vocal. Some of them are suing the league. Everyone is kind of in agreement. This didn't make sense. It shouldn't have happened the way that it did. And one, I guess you could say, pretty powerful person got involved this week. You want to talk about as the Big Ten turns, this soap opera that we've been watching for the last 2, 3, 4 weeks unfold. We find out Tuesday afternoon via President Donald Trump's Twitter feed that Donald Trump has been in touch with Kevin Warren, the commissioner of the Big Ten, about playing Big Ten football. It's surreal. It's unbelievable. I cannot believe that we're here. And before I get into the meat of this, let me just even backtrack and kind of explain something, guys. Guys and girls, by the way. One, I just want you to understand, I try to stay away from politics whenever I can on this show. Obviously, more and more as time has gone on, the two things, sports and politics, have crossed. But, even when I've talked about the coronavirus or whatever, I've tried not to give any type of political opinion. I've tried to base it on facts. I've tried to be fair to you guys. I understand everyone comes at this stuff from a different perspective. Obviously, I have my own perspectives, but frankly, my political opinions don't matter. You don't tune in here for my political opinions. You do not care. I do not care to share my political opinions because I know you don't want them. So I always try to be careful. I always try to toe that line. But obviously, when the leader of the free world, when the president of the United States throws himself into the middle of the biggest topic, certainly in college sports, I would argue in all of sports right now, it's something that I have to talk about. And so before I get into it, and this is kind of the political element of it, let me give a little bit of credit to Kevin Warren. I have completely crushed the guy over the last 2, 3, 4 weeks. I believe it's mostly been justified. I believe he had no idea what he was doing when he took this job. I believe he didn't have time to build relationships with the school presidents. And I do feel bad in a lot of ways for him because the school presidents were the ones that made the ultimate decision, and he is the guy that has had to take all the bullets for the school presidents. As best I can tell, none of them have made a public comment on the decision except for Ohio State and except for Nebraska, 2 of the 3 schools that have actually voted for football this year. If you remember, there were only 3 schools, we talked about it on last episode, that actually did vote for football, and that was Nebraska, Iowa, and Ohio State. Ohio State, their school president came out within the last day or so, says she hopes that we can play football in the fall. The Nebraska president has been pretty vocal this whole time, and everybody else has been stone quiet. The whatever it was, 11 school presidents that did not vote for football, that voted for canceling the season, they've been hiding, and they haven't been making public comments, and I do feel bad for Kevin Warren because I do feel like he had to take a bunch of bullets for things that I don't know that he was ever completely in favor of canceling, but it was never really up to him, and I don't think he handled it well, and I don't think his comments have been well, and I don't think he's been very good with the players and the parents, but I also understand that part of this isn't his fault. So first of all, let me give him credit. He took the call from the president, and it seems like he is open to working with the president to try and figure out if this can actually happen. I give the president credit. I understand why he made this call, which I will get into in a second, but my stance on this particular topic, independent of Big Ten versus Pac-12 versus SEC, independent of whether a president gets involved, a governor gets involved, whatever, my stance on this has been consistent since March, right? My stance has been when it is safe to play sports, I want to see sports back. And the professionals have been able to pull it off. They obviously have resources that a lot of the colleges do not. But my stance has always been, as long as it's safe, we should be playing college football. Now, if it isn't safe, And at this point, we basically have no proof. By the way, I saw right before I started recording here on Wednesday night that Central Arkansas, a team that played on Saturday, actually had 0 positive tests, and they had to travel to that game with Austin Peay. The game was in Alabama. Both teams traveled. Central Arkansas comes back. There are no positives on the team. And so my stance from day one has been, if it is safe, I think we should be playing college football. I think we should be playing college basketball. I think we should be playing high school football. I think we should be getting our country back to as normal as possible. And there are a lot of reasons that I think it's important to play college football, which I've explained on this show. It's good for a player's physical health. It's good for their mental health, the structure of football. It's good for opportunities to potentially put themselves in position to make a career playing football. It's great for the local economies around the cities of whatever, whether it's a school that's playing or a school that isn't. It's important to the local economy. And so I've been in favor of figuring out a way, if it's safe, to play football all along. So whatever the reason was that the president got involved, I give him credit for pushing this forward, obviously because he believes, like I do, that we should be playing college football if it's safe. Now to the politics part of it. And this is the part that is inescapable, and I understand it. Many of you who maybe don't agree with the president on a lot of things, I think a lot of you would sit there and say, well, he's only doing it for political reasons, okay? And for people who do not understand the context of that, again, I am not a political analyst. I didn't major in poli-sci. I don't follow this stuff closely, but I'm not an idiot either. And I do understand that a big part of the reason that the president has decided that he is going to support the cause of the Big Ten is not because he cares about Penn State's football team or Illinois' football team or Nebraska's football team. It is because the Big Ten and several states in that footprint are very important for his reelection. Again, not a poli-sci major, but whether it's Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Iowa, Nebraska, these are really important states that could swing either way in the election, and the president has decided that this is a stance that he can get behind. And by the way, maybe I was wrong on a couple of those states, or maybe I missed a couple states. Again, I do not claim to be a political expert, but I'm smart enough to know that several states in the Big Ten footprint are important for the president's reelection. And so for him, this is a complete no-brainer, right? Get behind it. Obviously, there was some reports last week that Joe Biden ran some campaign ads that, were basically blaming him for the fact that there is no college football in the Big Ten country this fall. So Joe Biden took that route. Donald Trump obviously took the other route by being very vocal and saying, I believe the Big Ten should play. Again, I understand it's for political reasons. I get that. I wish that we could keep politics out of football. But it also goes back to what I said a minute ago. I have believed since day one that for whatever the reason, we should be doing everything that we can to play football. And so I understand that the president is using this as a political platform, but I don't really care why he got involved. I just think it's important that more and more voices are speaking up on behalf of this cause. I joked about it with a friend. If Martians came down from Mars and demanded that we play football, I would support the Martians because I think it is the right decision for all of the reasons that I have stated so often on this show, and as I just stated a minute ago, for the players involved, for their future earnings in the NFL, for their potential off the field, for their mental health, for the structure that football brings. I think I've talked about it on this show before. I played high school football. One of my best friends got hurt middle of our senior year, and he was a guy who football was his whole life. Football was the only reason that he went to school. It was to stay eligible to play football. He gets hurt the middle of our senior year. He doesn't end up graduating. And I'm not trying to be funny or facetious. Like, that really happened. And I'm not saying kids are going to flunk out and the whole world is going to come to an end. But what I am saying is the structure of sports really helps keep a lot of kids focused, a lot of kids grounded. It's why most guys, when they get in trouble, it's during the off season when they're either not practicing, not playing, away from campus, whatever. You could go to a few weeks ago, University of Oklahoma. For like a month and a half straight, they had basically nobody testing positive for COVID-19. Lincoln Riley gives them 1 week off, and like whatever it was, I don't remember now, 15 guys, 18 guys, 20 guys, whatever, come back and test positive. It was because they weren't in the structure of college football, of coming into the facility every day, of going from class from class to study hall to practice to weightlifting to whatever. And I think these are really important issues. And so to me, I don't really care that the president got involved. I don't really care that he is using this as a political prop, because I think that he is right. And I think that any pressure that we can put on the Big Ten to at the very least reconsider the decision, I think is a good thing. I think it's a good thing for the players, for the parents, for the fans, for the communities in the Big Ten. Now, I think the bigger question is what happens next. And you saw all sorts of stuff from all sorts of media members over the course of, I guess it was Tuesday night into Wednesday, where immediately, by the way, the same 4, 5, 6 media members that have been basically saying since April, we should never play college sports again. And you know who they are, and you know, I don't know why they act the way that they do. But of course, immediately they shot down the idea that the president was playing any role in helping move along college football. And that was disappointing to me. I still, for the life of me, do not understand why certain members of the media are so vocally, I don't know if they're actively rooting against college football, but they're not exactly championing it to get back on the field. And I did think, and I tweeted this and a lot of you saw it, I thought it was really disappointing that many members of the media seem to be more upset that our president got involved with football than the fact that he may be helping move it along to get college football in Big Ten country back on the field. And so all I'll say is, one, I'm very disappointed in many of the media. I think it's why many of you guys like this show, because I kind of just, listen, I think it's amazing to me. I think I literally have the least controversial stance ever. People are saying, oh, you're a homer, you're a this, you're a that. You just want college football for your livelihood. Oh, you must be a Trump guy because you support him. No. I think literally the most middle of the road opinion you can have in this case is you want football if it's safe. That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying I think we should get college football if it's safe to have college football. And so I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if this is the nudge that the Big Ten will need. Obviously, if you read the reports, the president supposedly offered up, testing services and all those things. But I still do think it ultimately comes down to, will enough school presidents decide that they feel like, based on whatever new information they're going to get, and maybe that new information, by the way, is public pressure, but that it's safe to play college football and play it here pretty soon. That's the big issue, right? As I told you last episode, of the 14 Big Ten presidents, only 3 voted in favor. They would need at least 9 to vote in favor of playing college football. I still do think there is time. I still do believe if they would stop hiding, if they would start addressing this, I do believe that you can get players back out onto the practice field in the next week to 10 days. I see no reason that you can't start playing on October 3rd to 10th, which is what the president proposed in his tweet early to mid-October. And I see no reason that you can't play a schedule similar to the SEC, which doesn't start until September 26th. I would add, there was another piece of information that came out on Wednesday, which just proves how idiotic this decision has been all along. Did you see this story? I tweeted it out. Ohio State had an actual practice on Wednesday. Ohio State had an actual practice on Wednesday. If you missed this story, it was not in full pads, but they had on helmets, they had on shells, and they practiced. And so what you're now telling me, Big Ten, is you're telling me that you can, let's just understand what the Big Ten has said you can and cannot do, what is safe and what is not safe for college football players. The Big Ten has said it is safe for students to attend class with other students. In some cases, a place like Penn State, Ohio State, we're talking 40,000+ people on campus at one time. Big Ten said that's safe. Big Ten has said it is safe to live in school housing, sometimes hundreds of people in a small, condensed, closed space. The Big Ten has now said that it's safe to come back to the practice facility. As I've told you guys, these teams are still working out in the practice facility 4 or 5 days a week. And now we're actually having on-the-field practices, but somehow it's not safe to play football games. It makes absolutely no sense, and so I'm going to keep hammering it home. And if the president wants to get behind this for political reasons, I have no reason to be upset with it, because I think that this decision was made in haste. I think it was the wrong one, and I'm going to keep fighting. So we'll see what happens. We will have another episode next week, and I guarantee you there will be 10 new twists to this story between now and then. But as I've said, I believe that the Big Ten can get their players back practicing besides what Ohio State was doing. They can get back to practicing. They can get back to playing, and there's no reason that they can't be playing early to mid-October. And by the way, maybe this is a situation like some other conferences where some schools opt out. I had a pretty plugged-in person in the Big Ten call me on Wednesday afternoon and say, like, dude, what you're missing, Torres, one of the biggest things that the Big Ten has going against it right now is that the footprint of the conference is so big. Like, Iowa is good to go. They're safe. They're fine. Nebraska's good to go. They're safe. They're fine. Ohio State, Penn State, whatever. So, but you got to remember, Rutgers is in New York, and those numbers are New Jersey technically, but you get the point. And those numbers are technically trending in the right direction, but people at that school are still scared. People in Maryland are still scared. And so I bring it up to say maybe the future of Big Ten football in 2020 isn't that every single school plays. Maybe a Rutgers opts out. Maybe a Maryland opts out. Maybe a Northwestern, which is a private academically based school, opts out, but even their parents came out in the last day or so and said that they want to play. So I'm not going to belabor the point. I've gone on long enough, but the point I'm trying to make is that I've been saying it for like 5 episodes now. I do not believe this fight is over, and who knows? Maybe the next step is, in fact, to continue to put pressure via the president on the conference to make this happen, but it will be fascinating to see. And there's clearly no end in sight. It is surreal to watch, but we will continue to check out this story.